What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, January 21st, 2026, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 1300 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East. So it looks like the U.S. is getting ready to strike Iran in the last couple of days, especially in the last 24 hours. We've had a large movement of U.S. military forces into the Middle East. So last night there were as many as up to 15 aerial refuelers that flew from the U.S. to the Middle East, between 12 and 15 aerial refuelers. That is a massive amount of aerial refuelers. And also, we know that there's at least 35 F-15'S at an airbase in Jordan already, and we're hearing that as many as possibly 15 more F-15'S were moved from the UK to Jordan. So that's up to 50 F-15'S in Jordan right now, and up to 15 aerial refuelers moved to the Middle East last night. So the movement is continuing despite what Trump said about Iran. And right now we have a nuke sniffer up in the air over Nebraska. It just took off from Strategic Command Headquarters. And we also have a nuclear war command and control plane up in the air as well. And yesterday morning there were a large number of nuclear codes transmitted by the U.S. So definitely something is about to go down. Trump went to Switzerland. He's at the World Economic Forum right now. His plane actually had to turn back. Air Force One had to turn back because it had some electrical issues. So he did make it to Switzerland, though. And Trump said that he spoke about Greenland with Mark Rutte, the head of NATO, and said that they were going to discuss Greenland while he was in Switzerland. So pretty interesting. And we're also hearing that the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier and its associated warships in the strike group have entered the Malacca Strait. So that's in Indonesia. That's like right before the Bay of Bengal. That's near Thailand. So they still have a couple more days before they reach the Middle East, and Trump is in Switzerland right now, so I don't think we're going to be striking Iran until this weekend at the soonest. There were also a large number of British fighter jets in Bahrain, so Britain is preparing potentially to assist in the strikes on Iran. And we're now hearing that 8 European countries, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and the UK, issued a joint statement declaring that Trump's threats to impose tariffs on them for supporting Greenland's sovereignty undermine the foundations of transatlantic unity. So if you're not aware, all those countries deployed their military forces to Greenland to block a military takeover of Greenland by the U.S. And so Trump lashed out and threatened to impose 10 to 25% tariffs on all those countries that deployed forces there. So it's really escalating between the U.S. and the European countries over Trump's obsession with Greenland. And what you're looking at here is just a small sample of all these aerial refuelers that left the U.S. last night and went to Europe and the Middle East. You can see 6 KC-135 Stratotankers up in the air over the United States. We also had a severe, possibly G5 class geomagnetic storm over the weekend, and that's extremely rare, and it just came out of nowhere. There was an X-class flare. And this is why you need to be prepared, because these solar flares can take out the power grid. And this came out of nowhere. Nobody knew this was going to happen, and it just randomly happened. And they had it at a G4 class, which is the second highest level on their scale, but based on the planetary K index, we potentially may have reached G5, which is the highest class of a geomagnetic storm. So these flares are very, very dangerous. They can take out communications and the power grid, so you need to always be prepared because it can happen out of nowhere. And there was also a S4 class solar radiation storm associated with this solar flare. And the last time we observed an S4 class storm was in October of 2003. So that's pretty significant. And we're hearing reports that the U.S. has been trying to collect information about Denmark's military bases on Greenland. So according to an internal report from Danish Defense, Denmark's Ministry of Defense and top military leaders are increasingly concerned about reports that senior officials in the U.S. military have informally attempted to get Danish authorities to hand over information about military installations, ports, and air bases in Greenland, officials told the Danish newspaper Berlingske. Experts tell officials that they should expect American espionage against Denmark. So this is getting really serious now with this Greenland situation. And the Sunday Times, quoting doctors in Iran, reported that 16,000 protesters in Iran have died and 330,000 have been injured. So there's a large number of people dying in Iran because of these protests. And the Israeli Ynet News says the U.S. is still planning to attack Iran, and the buildup of military equipment continues in the region. And early Sunday, the USS Abraham Lincoln and her escorts, the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers USS Spruance, USS Michael Murphy, and USS Frankie Patterson began their transit westward into the Indian Ocean via the Strait of Malacca, moving roughly at 20 knots. The Lincoln Carrier Strike Group will reach the U.S. Central Command's area of responsibility by January 25th. Likely moving into position in the Arabian Sea off the coast of Iran. So this Abraham Lincoln carrier is coming with 3 guided missile destroyers, guys. Each one of those destroyers can carry like 96 missiles of various types, Tomahawk missiles, missile interceptors, the SM-3 Aegis systems, the SM-3 missiles, which are the interceptors. Okay, so that's a lot of firepower. Between those 3 warships, you're looking at 300 missiles in one shot from all those destroyers. And 2 additional C-17 Globemasters with the U.S. Air Force landed in Mufawak Saltee Air Base in Jordan from the Royal Air Force Lakenheath in England, supporting the deployment of F-15'E Strike Eagles from the 494th Fighter Squadron and the 48th Fighter Wing. So they're moving more and more F-15s into the Middle East, like I said earlier in the video. And the Pentagon has issued prepare to deploy orders to several hundred active duty military police soldiers with the U.S. Army 16th Military Police Brigade stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina in preparation for the possible mobilization of military forces to Minneapolis, Minnesota, sources told MS Now. Orders sent yesterday to the 16th Military Police Brigade are in addition to prepare to deploy orders that were sent out last Friday by the Defense Department to 2 battalions, roughly 1,000 soldiers, with the Army's 11th Airborne Division at Joint Base Elmendorf in Alaska, also in preparation for deployment to Minneapolis. Okay, so they got 2 battalions from Alaska going to Minnesota, and then the military police from Fort Bragg also going to Minnesota. That's a lot of troops, okay? And Trump announced a 10% tariff on Truth Social against Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland, which will increase to 25% by June 1st unless Greenland is sold to the United States. Wow, crazy. And the U.S. Central Command has called for the Syrian government to cease all offensive actions in areas between Aleppo and Al-Taqba. So if you guys are not aware, Syria took back their oil fields in the eastern part of the country that were taken over by the Kurds. And so the U.S. is now warning Syria to cease their military operations against the Kurds. And Kurdish forces did officially withdraw from the strategically important oil and gas fields in eastern Syria, including the Al Omar oil field and the Conoco gas field. Those are very, very big natural resources that Syria now has under their control that they lost in the power vacuum after Assad fled to Russia. And the supreme leader of Iran, the Ayatollah Khamenei, said, "We hold the American president guilty for the victims, the damage, and the accusations he made against the Iranian nation." So the Ayatollah blaming Trump for all the deaths of the protesters, which really makes no sense. But doesn't look like the leader of Iran is submitting to Trump. And Trump on Saturday called for an end to the supreme leader's 37-year reign. He said it's time to look for new leadership in Iran. The man is a sick man who should run his country properly and stop killing people, Trump told Politico. So there you have it, guys. Regime change is imminent, just like in Venezuela. And Polish authorities have charged 5 men in an alleged Russian-orchestrated plot to send out parcels with explosives to various Western countries. And the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, said over the weekend that Russia and Ukraine have agreed to a localized ceasefire to allow repairs to the last remaining backup power lines supplying the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Ukrainian grid technicians are expected to start fixing the damaged 330 kilovolt line in the coming days after it was knocked out by military activity on January 2nd, leaving the plant reliant on a single 750 kV main line. So they're going to hopefully get that fixed soon. And the U.S. Embassy in Amman, Jordan, issued a nationwide security alert for Jordan, citing ongoing regional tensions. The embassy urges U.S. citizens to maintain heightened personal security awareness and closely monitor news updates. And NASA and the Department of Energy are partnering to develop and deploy a nuclear reactor on the moon within the next 4 years. Wow, that's pretty interesting. And Ukraine, the UK, New Zealand, Slovakia, and Portugal have all ceased their embassy operations in Iran. And Ukrainian intelligence says Russia plans to strike at nuclear power plant units and substations so that Ukrainians will be left completely without electricity and heat. In this way, Russia wants to force Ukraine to surrender. Wow, so striking at nuclear power plants. Interesting. And Ukrainian drones attacked the Russian military base Kapustin Yar, from which the Oreshnik ICBMs were launched from in 2024, and then most recently a few weeks ago at Ukraine in Lviv. So very interesting. And Russia vows to boost Arctic defenses amid Greenland tensions. Russia said it will strengthen its Arctic defense capabilities amid rising tensions linked to Greenland, accusing NATO and the U.S. of militarizing the region. And the U.S., together with Poland, plans to create one of the largest military transport hubs in Europe at the Wrocław airport. That's in southwestern Poland. And Syria has declared the entire western Euphrates River a closed military zone and ordered the evacuation of civilians. Very interesting. And speaking at a press briefing in Moscow, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said Russia would continue strengthening its defense capabilities in the Arctic region, describing the move as essential to protecting national sovereignty. She said our country will firmly defend its positions in the region, adding that priority would be given to reinforcing defense capabilities and infrastructure along the northern sea route, a strategic shipping corridor increasingly central to Russia's Arctic strategy. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight or tomorrow with another update. In the meantime, tune into my 24/7 live stream. And if you guys are not aware, I am at the SHOT Show in Vegas right now. So as a result, my programming will be reduced over the next couple of days, but I will try to get some updates out to you. But until the next time, check out my live stream. Follow me on Twitter. My wonderful mods are updating everybody in the 24/7 stream with the latest breaking news. So you can hang out over there and listen to the nuclear forces as well, transmitting codes. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is NYPrepper Supply. Guys, NYPrepper Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to use my link. It's in the description below this video. It's preparewithNYPrepper.com. So they're selling their 3-month emergency food kit at 30% off. Plus, they're going to throw in an additional month of food. So that's 4 months of food. And the normal price would be $944. And they're selling it at just under $700 for 4 months of food. And this food has a 25-year shelf life. And it's all packed into rugged, watertight buckets that don't take up a lot of space in your home. And the food is obviously nutritious, which is very important for surviving any kind of SHTF situation. You can also use this food for camping and traveling. But use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get a free month of emergency food with your 3-month emergency food kit from NYPrepper Supply, all at 30% off, just $700 for 4 months of food. So use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get the deal, and the link is in the description below this video.